Hi, Michael here. So I was on Google Plus this morning and I saw a post about how there's not enough original content on Google Plus, so I wanted to go ahead and make a video about my Wonderswan Color that I picked up here a couple weeks ago off of eBay. You may not have heard of the Wonderswan Color. It's a good reason for that because it was never released in the United States. It was Japan only, even though it has English words on it, which is kind of interesting. I got this off of eBay along with a couple games for about $60, I'd say so. This is the Wonderswan Color Crystal Orange Edition. It's nice, came in its own box. The games that I got, the Final Fantasy games, actually came in a box too, so you get some nice Japanese letters on there. The Wonderswan was made by Bandai back in the 1999, and through 2003 it was made by Gunpei Yoki, who's the guy who made the original Game Boy. So after he left Nintendo, he worked for Bandai and then pushed this guy out, which actually I think had a pretty decent following in Japan. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it was never brought over to the United States just because I guess some of the games and stuff that were released for it weren't really for the US market. So let's go ahead and open it up. It's really cool since it did come with the original box and everything. It's almost like new even though it's more than 10 years old. So, it comes with instruction manuals. Everything's obviously in Japanese, but it's pretty nice to have actually all the original content that came with it. A little Final Fantasy ad there. Just kind of some games and stuff. Don't know how all that's coming out, but it's all Japanese. And then just kind of some more games. Just typical fare when you get a new game system. Came in the original plastic. When I got this from Japan, it was actually meticulously packaged, which was awesome. So getting the shipment from there was really nice. System itself is pretty slick. This is the crystal version. One thing about the Wonderswans is there's actually three versions. There's the black and white, there's the color, then there's the crystal version. But it's kind of strange because this is a crystal type, I guess. As you can see, it's kind of translucent here. You can see through the case and everything. So that's crystal. The actual real crystal version has a backlit screen, whereas the color version here only has a LCD screen with no backlight, so it's kind of hard to get it to show up on regular light. A/B button, some interesting control pads here. Besides just having a regular D-pad, it also has a second D-pad. That was made because you could actually take this thing and turn it sideways and play shooter games and things like that on it, which I don't have any of, but that was kind of the concept, I guess, was to be able to play games from this side. It's kind of like turning the DS on its side. Size-wise, it's about the same size as a Nintendo DS, so it kind of fits right on top of that like that. About the same thickness too, I would say. Battery life is pretty decent on it. I think it takes one AA. It's kind of back here. Probably lasts about, I think, 14 to 20 hours is what I heard. The game pack goes in here. Games kind of look like Game Boy Advance games, or maybe about a little bigger, I guess you could say. So, a little larger. They have the exposed contacts here, which is kind of nice, especially for the older games, because if you need to clean them, you can easily get a Q-tip in there with some rubbing alcohol and go ahead and clean them out. This fits right there in the back. It's nice and snug. Goes right nice and flush with the system. This is Final Fantasy IV. The one nice thing about these systems is that a lot of the games that came out for it were Japanese games, so if you like some of the Japanese games like Final Fantasy, also has Final Fantasy II, which came in the original boxes too, which is pretty awesome. I'll open one of these guys up because they have all the instruction manuals and stuff as well with them. So there's Final Fantasy I, and they were slightly updated for the Wonderswan as opposed to the original NES versions. The graphics are a little nicer. It's kind of nice to have the artwork and stuff inside of the booklets. Obviously, all in Japanese once again, but, how to play. It's your typical instruction booklet. Pretty nice little setup. I'd say the graphics are maybe on par with a SNES. Nothing too spectacular, but for being 1999, I mean, Game Boy Advance quality almost. It's pretty decent. We can go ahead and turn this guy on with Final Fantasy IV in it. It's kind of hard to see with the backlight, but we'll try to get it to come up somewhat. It's kind of interesting. It has sound, but it has different levels of sound. it's not like an analog one where you kind of adjust it. It has like 4 levels: off, loud, medium, soft, off. So it's a pretty nice little system. It's pretty comfortable to hold. It's not too heavy, which is good. Yeah, you can see these games are all in Japanese. So, you know, if you've played the originals before, it's kind of nice because you might actually know what's going on, or you can follow a how-to guide or something like that along with it. Let's go ahead and start up. So we'll start a new one. There we go. There you go. You can kind of see the airships a little bit. Should bring it a little closer. It's just kind of hard with the light to get it on there. Yeah, so about equivalent of a SNES, I'd say. You know, looks pretty much probably this is Final Fantasy IV. Probably came out just as well that it did on the SNES. So yeah, everything in Japanese again. Pretty difficult to understand, I guess, if you don't know it, but it still works. So it's a nice system, nice and light. Battery life is excellent on it. Actually, don't know what that is down there. It's pretty cool to check out if you wanted something like this. You can get them off of eBay pretty easily. I'd probably recommend the Wonderswan Color Crystal version. When I bought this, I thought it was the Crystal, but then after it shipped, I realized it was just the Crystal body type, not necessarily the Crystal one itself. Almost all the games are going to be Japanese that you're going to find. Like here's a robot game. I don't even know how to start this guy up, but it was only $3, and I just wanted to get it to see if the system would work, because I didn't know when the Final Fantasy games were coming out. But I mean, it's just kind of cool if you like to collect stuff. There is a really nice shooter game for it that uses the vertical style of play called Judgment Silver Sword, but the problem with that is it's pretty rare, so it goes for a couple $100 on eBay. You can get an emulator for this online if you want to try it out. I like to actually have the system, so having the real hardware and the real games makes it a little more fun than just the emulator, but then you also don't have to drop $200 on it. So hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to try to do some more of these since I have some other random gaming systems. I got the 3DS back there, and I also have the Neo Geo Pocket Color, which is a really nice system as well. So I'll try to do something about that later. But I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a little bit about the Wonderswan Color, a gaming system you may never had known existed until now.